and they are telling you that 3 out of 4 pupils are poverty learning. That is worrisome. 3 out of 4. So out of 4 pupils, only 1 can be able to recite something, speak a sentence, understand what is spoke, and all of that. 1 out of 4. So the other 3, they are gone. So, and this amounts to about 42 million children. Check it. We are not adding people out of school. We are talking about people who are in the school, system. So you can see how terrible our situation is. That in the next 10 years, Nigeria may not have adequate engineers, adequate medical doctors, adequate pharmacists, and the rest of them to be able to drive the country or drive the economy, because those who are supposed to be in school to learn are not in school. Even those who are in school are going through terrible conditions within their school system. Insecurity is a very big problem within our school system. At least you remember, just a few days ago, over 40-something students that were kidnapped, including their teachers, were just released after 56 days in captivity. Not just them, so many of them. We remember the Dapchi school girl, we remember Chibok girls, we remember the Jengebe students that were taking 300 and something. So many of them in Niger State, in different parts of the country. Many schools were shut down. Even the one in Oyo that happened recently, the school was closed. And the funny part of this whole thing is that our politicians, who are supposed to be intentional about developing our country, they are busy politicking for 2027. They are busy politicking on how to get the next seat for the next 4 years. And they have thrown every other thing to the wind. Nigeria is really in a dear and critical state right now as we speak. Because the report that is coming out today is not something that is quite encouraging. When you are hearing that there is learning poverty in Nigeria. The core indices of development is not receiving attention in Nigeria, especially in this government. So the fact is that when you look at Nigeria investment in education, you weep. That is the honest truth. So now, the report that came out, from the Minister of Education, talking about learning poverty in Nigeria, where about 75% of children within the age of 10 could not even read or comprehend, English, comprehend what they are reading. They can recite. For example, if you are reading a sentence, they can read it with you, right? But when you're done and you're not asking another, one of the students to, read what they just read, it's a problem. So, and they can't even understand what they were reading. They're only reciting with you. Remember those days, when we were small, A is for apple, B is for, but they don't even know what is apple. They don't even know what they are saying. All they know is A is for apple, B is for ball, C is for cat. Those kind of, stuff those days. So the fact is that when you look at the way our education sector is going, then it's something that required urgent and immediate attention. All right. Anyways, guys, this is RD Media TV. Welcome to my channel. Let's look into the critical situation of our education sector in Nigeria. What is going on there, and what are we going to do, to kind of improve the learning outcomes of what is happening today. So, guys, sit with me and let's go through all of this and be able to arrive to a kind of conclusion on what we expect the government to do to be able to improve the situation. When you talk about education, education is one core major, factor of development, right? Because investment in education improves the HDI. When you look at the HDI, you're looking at literacy, indices, they're trying to find out how literate is your population, right? Because a literate population that can read and write, population that have, quantum of their population educated, has the potential to drive their economy, has the potential to, develop their country. And that is the reason why you look at developed countries, you see how fast they are moving. Look at China. Technology, look at what they do. Overnight, China just build their people and that's it. Don't look at America. They are the superpowers. Look at Indonesia. Look at Singapore. Even Rwanda. Having good leadership that understand where they are going and be able to set up a roadmap on how to get there. And they follow it religiously. Before you know it, things will turn around. But our case is always different in Nigeria, where politicians, they don't just care. What they care is how to get into that position and use that paraphernalia of that office to enrich themselves, their families, their cronies. That's what it is. So it's quite pathetic that they are telling us today that at 72 or 75% of Nigerian children are poverty learning. That is to say, They cannot, between the ages of 1 to 10, 6 to 10 basically, because in Nigeria you have to be like 6 years, but things are changing now. There are people of 4 years already in the primary school and stuff like that. But the fact remains that those people that fall within that age bracket cannot read, comprehend what they are reading. That is the problem. When you look at the number, 75%, according to the Minister of Education, this is not coming from outside. It's not coming from anywhere else. It's coming from internal by the Minister of Education. And they are telling you that 3 out of 4 pupils are poverty learning. That is worrisome. 3 out of 4. So out of 4, pupils, only 1 can be able to recite something, speak a sentence, understand what he spoke, and all of that. 1 out of 4. So the other 3, they are gone. So, and this amounts to about 42 million children. Check it. We are not adding people out of school. We are talking about people who are in the school. Who are in the school system. That is what, because somebody out of school, where is he going to read and learn and all of that? We are looking at people who are within the school system. So you can see how terrible our situation is, that in the next 10 years, Nigeria may not have adequate engineers, adequate medical doctors, adequate, pharmacists and the rest of them to be able to drive the country or drive the economy, because those who are supposed to be in school to learn are not in school. Even those who are in school are going through terrible conditions within their school system. Now, let's look at some of these issues that is leading us to this. The first is insecurity. Insecurity is a very big problem within our school system. At least, you remember, just a few days ago, over 40-something students that were kidnapped, including their teachers, were just released after 56 days in captivity. They are in their school. And then they were taken. Not just them, so many of them. We remember the Dapchi school girl, we remember Chibok girls, we remember the Jangebe students that were taken 300 and something. So many of them in Niger State, in different parts of the country. Many schools were shut down. Even the one in Oyo that happened recently, the school was closed. Why? Insecurity. So how will a child learn? When he's sitting down, they are saying A is for apple. The next thing, he hear gunshot. Principal is already shot. And they are marched to the forest and they spend 56 days. Is it that kind of child that we learn? And the funny part of this whole thing is that our politicians who are supposed to be intentional about developing our country, they are busy politicking for 2027. They are busy politicking on how to get the next seat for the next 4 years. And they have thrown every other thing to the wind. Most of their children are schooling abroad. So whatever happens in Nigerian education system, they don't care. Remember the former Kogi State Governor, Yahaya Bello, is still in the EFCC case now, right? For diverting 80-something billion meant for the state just to pay for school fees of his own children in advance in a private, high-class primary school. That's why he spent that money for his own family, state money, according to EFCC, and the charges against him. He's still in court. Now, imagine what 80 billion would have done in Kogi State education system. But one man diverted that money for his own personal use. So think about it. So these guys they don't care about the country. They are not intentional. Then it will shock you what amount these guys budget for education. Anyway, let's watch this video. Then I will come back and then I will be able to go into details of some of these issues. And then we'll be able to run this video up. Let's watch this video from Arise News and we'll be right back.
Believe it or not, a majority of Nigerian kids that are 10 years old can't read or understand an age-appropriate text. So how did we get here and how do we get out of it? Let's talk about it.
I clean. And arrange my room.
So think about that. 3 in 4 Nigerian students don't know how to read. This isn't a number that came out of just anywhere. This was coming from the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, who made these comments at a meeting at the Federal Ministry of Education this month in Abuja. Now, what they found was that it's not that these kids don't necessarily know how to read a sentence. They may read it, but they won't necessarily understand what's being said. This is something the World Bank refers to as learning poverty, and it's essentially when someone of that age 10 years old is reading something but isn't having the comprehension to actually understand what's being conveyed. Children are dealing with kidnappings, they're dealing with insecurities, schools shutting down, a lack of proper infrastructure, lack of qualified teachers, underpaid teachers, overcrowding. These are factors that are all contributing to the situation that we're in today. But when you dig a little bit deeper, it's also a problem of funding. Just a little deep dive into our national budget over the last couple of years shows that we've been progressively putting less and less money towards the Federal Ministry of Education. So in 2015, we put about 10.75% of our national budget towards the Federal Ministry of Education, which was actually a historic high. By 2025, that number dropped to 5%, and here we are in 2026, the number is even lower. At 4.7% of our total national budget is put towards education. I mean, think about it big picture, 4.7% is a drop in the bucket. But what's interesting is the way that different states essentially treat education differently. So for instance, this year, Kano allocated over 130 million naira towards helping out girls' education. But if you look at the rest of their budget, Kano also allocated 1.5 billion naira towards a mass wedding in the state. So the bottom line in all of this is that no country can actually move forward if its children can't read. This is a fact. We're just not spending that much money on education, but the money is there. So the big question is, what's it being used for? And why does it seem like the intent just isn't there to improve the literacy of the next generation?
All right, welcome back. You heard what, the correspondent that was talking on that video, you heard what he said. Look at Kano State, for example. For education, they were budgeting 100 and something million, naira for education. But they budgeted 1.5 billion to do mass wedding for people. Mass wedding, we are talking about those who are even jobless, who cannot feed themselves. They will just arrange them, organize them, match them with the women, and they marry. After marriage, what next? They start producing children. People that can't feed themselves are now producing children. Who will feed them? They turn them to alamajeris, right? At age 2, they're already carrying plate, walking on the street, begging for alms, and they are producing more children. Where will those children end up? Boko Haram, Lakaruwa, banditry, and the rest of them. Because nobody's going to put them in school. Had it been 1.5 billion is spending to marry wives for people, is channeled to education. You can imagine what would have happened. The former governor then, Kwankwaso, who is now the vice presidential candidate of P2B in the NDC, he invested heavily in education. P2B himself invested heavily in education. That's why Anambra said move from number 24 or 26 position to number 1 in Wayek and Neko. And he was sustained for over 3 years before he left power. Investment in education. But look at it. You saw the video. 1.5 billion to marry wives or people who can feed themselves. You have not fed yourself. Is it a wife you will feed, or is it children that you will take care of? You need to have capacity to be able to do all of that. Kano has the highest local government, 44 local government. That's what is in Kano. But look at what we are seeing. Does it show you that these people care? That's why I keep saying that our leaders, they need to undergo, some basic training to know what is development. Some of them don't know what is development. Forget about some of them that have title, doctor, this, doctor. Development is development. You need to go and understand what development is all about. What are the core indices of development? And that is why you are seeing the country always telling you, we have foreign reserve, 50 billion. We have GDP is going up. Nobody cares about those foreign reserve and all of that. If you go and check HDI, you won't see foreign reserve there. You will see GDP there. What you will see is literacy rate. You will begin to see health, maternal and child health. What is the improvement, and so on and so forth. That's what you see. And that's what measures development. Because there's difference between economic growth and economic development. Economic growth is looking at growth in GDP, production. What is the production of the country for the year, and what are the export and all of this. You're looking at the internal domestic production and all of that, talking about GDP growth. That can be GDP growth, but without development. And that is what Nigeria is going through. Economic development is the one that affects the people directly. So Nigeria today is witnessing economic growth to some level, but there's no economic development. That is why cost of living is terrible. That is why there's huge poverty, over about 140 million. In fact, what I just read was telling me that by next year, there will be 141 million into poverty, multidimensional poverty. So because there's growth, GDP is grew by 1 point something percent over year on year, blah, blah, blah. the point is, how does that GDP growth translate to the people? That is the question. So there are critical areas of development, and that is what P2B keeps saying, because he understands these things. That's why when he was governor, he leveraged on MDGs at that time, Millennium Development Goals agenda, and he domesticated it in his state. He mirrored it into his development plan called ANITS that time. And that was how he moved education to the top as number one, health sector. So many things he did. He road network, security, and all of that. He followed that plan. And now his SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, is what we now have now. How many states have mainstreamed their development plan to align with SDG? Even the federal government, does their plan mainstream into SDG? Because it's a global indicator. And you are not isolated as a country. You are supposed to fuse into the global indicator. That's why when you look at the global, budget for education, right? It's either you are budgeting, your total budget to education should be between 4 to 6% of your GDP, or your total expenditure in that budget to education will be 15 to 20%. But how many percent does Nigeria have? This is federal government now. Federal government, when it comes to GDP, measuring by GDP, Nigeria have never crossed 2%. It's between 1 to 2% of education budget to GDP. It's not reaching their average. It's not reaching the average. Average is between 4 to 6%. So we have never, I've checked from 2014 down the line. Not even during Jonathan, there was improvement, but now it has shrunk. You saw the video showing you is now, is it 4% or 5%? That is total expenditure, not the GDP part. Because there are two ways to do that. Either you are doing it by total expenditure, which you expected to have 15 to 20%. And Nigeria has 4 to 5%. Check the gap. Now, when you're looking at it from the GDP perspective, Nigeria is supposed to have between 4 to 6% of GDP channeled to education. But what do we have? Just 1 to 2%. So we are far from the global benchmark. So what do we expect? What do we expect? So now, when you look at what is going on, it means that the funding to the education sector is very poor. Government just is spending 1.5 trillion on coastal highway. The total budget for education in 2026 is about 3-point-something trillion. But only one road that interests the president, which he awarded to his friend, is 1.5 trillion. One road. But the whole of education, federal government, is 3 point, as per budget 3 times. And don't forget, even the 3-point-something trillion in value is nothing because of the devaluation of Naira. That is the honest truth. So why wouldn't the children be poverty learning? How many children are out of school? What is the effort to bring them back? They say they have Hope Edu, where the World Bank is supporting them about 550-something million, is it dollars or thereabout? They want to spend in that one. The problem with Nigeria is not about spending money. The problem is that money you just had, we never get down to the school. We never get down to that project. They will hijack it up front, share it up front. Nothing trickles down to the project itself. That is the problem of Nigeria. Corruption. So when president is coming on air to tell Nigerians that he has confidence in his chief of staff, and you are not asking ICPC to go and investigate the fake agency, what happened in the fake agency, what report are you waiting from ICPC? They can't do a report that is contrary to what president has said. That is the point. So if you are really true and sure you want to fight corruption, even if your chief of staff did not do anything, you will go on suspension to avoid for clear investigation. And you set up independent people who will come in, do forensic analysis and bring up the report. If it's clean, he returns back to his job. If it's not clean, then he's fired and they go for trial. That's how serious people do things. So when you look at the signature of people in government and what they are doing, and I keep emphasizing it that they don't care. They don't just care. That's the honest truth. They don't care. Look at the crisis we are going in our education sector. And in education, I covered education for years. So I understand everything around education. Education has 2 key components: quality of education and access to education. These are the 2 basic components of education when you are measuring the education sector. Access deals with, building the school, premises to engineer enrollment. So when people have access to schools, when there are many schools, people begin to have more access to go to school. The competition will kind of subside a little bit, because when a school that is supposed to take in 50,000, pupils, for example, and over 2 million enrolled in that school, applied in that school, they can only take 500,000, which is the capacity of the school. So the 1.5 now, no place for them to go. But if there are many schools they can't get up to 1.5 million applying to their school, except if it's a unique school, like we have the Harvard and all those things, So others will have places to go. That is what Access does, creating room for, enrollment. And it's targeted at building more school facilities. That is Access for you. Number of schools built, right, is what creates Access. Then, when you come to quality, right, when you talk about quality, you're talking about, the value, the content of that education. Looking at curriculum, what kind of curriculum? Looking at the school system, the 6334 system we are practicing before. I think they want to change it now to, 12, you do primary 6 and JS 1 to 3, that's 12 years. Then you now enter senior level, write the WAEC at, and all of that. Before you now talk about applying to university for JAMB and the rest of them. So now, the curriculum, the school system, you talk about quality of teachers. What kind of teachers are we recruiting? Are they undergoing training? How often were they trained in terms of the current trends? Go to every schools now. Like you saw in the video, most of the schools dilapidated, no roof. Some that have roof, no ceiling. If it's raining, with the sound of the rain, nobody will hear each other anymore. Many students sit on the bare floor. I monitored a lot of schools. I've done a lot of programs in the schools in Nigeria. So I know what I'm telling you. It's not story, it's real life situation. When you look at budgets, what they do in the budget, that's where most of the constituency projects are hidden. That is it. Federal government colleges budget, go there and check. The Unity colleges, you will see a lot of constituency projects there. So the real school itself is getting little or nothing. There's a program that was done then, this IMEP, I was part of the IMEP then, Independent Monitoring and Evaluation Program, to monitor some program from, is it World Bank or something? I can't even remember. It's years ago. And they were working on some schools, selected schools in some selected states there. They are trying to improve the quality of education. And what did they do? They were providing books, providing water, providing sanitary, that is toilet. Most schools don't have toilet. That's why you go there, any little bush there, go there, you can't breathe in Nigeria. Most schools don't have toilet. Most schools don't have potable water. And that's what at least Very Dark Man has done in some schools. We have seen him do borehole, in some schools and all of that. I even saw one of the schools, it was building to his NGO the other day, So if you check, but during the election, there are polling booths in these schools, dilapidated, no windows, no doors, everything is destroyed. In fact, some of them is animals that sleep there in the night. That's how terrible these things are. So the Alamajeri school Jonathan built when he was president, where are they? Animals are the ones sleeping there. Who goes there? Nobody. So these are issues, practical issues, why we're having these challenges. Then go to the school. How are they teaching? Some say have chalkboard today in this 2026. Some schools, they have chalkboard. Some of them that have improved have marker, whiteboard with marker. But today, school boards now are digital. They are digital. That is it. They are not moving with the speed of light like other countries are moving. But it's not that we don't have the resources. We have the resources. But these resources are channeled in the wrong direction. They are stolen. You can see what they are recovering from Malamina, Abubakar Malami, for feature that they just did. Former Attorney General of the Federation, who was alleged to have stolen billions, build university, build businesses, build hotel with government money that he took. Now they are doing forfeiture of those properties, billions of naira, billions, several houses he bought in Abuja. So you see the problem. Yaya Bello is there, 80 billion, over 80 billion is in court. These are government officials. Former Accountant General stole 109 billion. He has done plea bargain now. Nobody is hearing about him. There's another one in the Accountant General office, I think 1.9 billion or thereabout. I think that one was jailed. Now NNPC, they are talking about 210 trillion missing. Now we are talking about fake agency with 1.3 billion in the appropriation budget and 27.5 billion takeoff grant. To who? To fake agency. What happens to service-wise votes that government is controlling? What happens to security votes? Nobody cares. And we just heard about how APC governors has moved almost 800 billion to Renewed Hope ambassadors account. It was there. The information was there, circulated the other time, that they move money from FAC allocation, their FAC allocation each day, they send certain amount to that account, which the Renew Hope have already created another account called the Renew Hope Initiative and moved the money there. That was where the controversy started. The governors were now asking for accountability. And that's how we knew. Something illegal till now, nobody had anything again. They have killed that story. They have killed that story. All those 800 billion they have put in there for campaign. Imagine if they invest it in the education and health sector. In the next 10 years, Nigeria will be a shining star globally. But no, they need to come back to continue to loot what they are looting. That is the problem. So what is Nigeria doing to improve access to education? How many state governments have built new schools? How many new schools has the federal government built to improve access? Look at every year, people write JAMB. Most of them don't get admission. That's why scoring 200 and something. They don't. The quota system, what happens? Somebody in Anambra scored 300 in JAM or 280, he won't get admission. Somebody in the north that scored 80 or 100 or 150 will get admission. What are we talking about? So these are issues that need to be resolved. What is the curriculum? Curriculum that is not leading anybody anywhere. Go to our universities. Our students, they finish university, nothing to do, because the curriculum they pass through can't take them to anywhere, can't fit into the current trend, current happenings globally. They can't. So we are talking about pupils who are between age 6 to 10, right? That can't read and write, they are poverty learning. What about those that just left university? I do watch some videos. They will ask them, what did you study? Mass communication. Or even Odumeja himself, in the church, he will be asking them, you studied what? What is mass communication? The person doesn't know. University graduate. So what are we talking about? We really need to wake up. If this government cannot invest heavily in education, in health, then we're in trouble, big trouble. In the next coming years, Nigeria won't have doctors. Nigeria won't have nurses, midwives, skilled labor to deliver pregnant women, to attend to people. That's why you see them, they run abroad. Every time they have headache, they run abroad. They run to France, run to UK. That is the essence. Why not invest in human capital? Without human capital, there's no nation. So in my job as a management expert, right? Organization is his people. Without the people, there's no organization. If you fire everybody in Zenith Bank now, Zenith Bank dies. There's nothing about Zenith Bank. It's the people there that is driving the Zenith Bank. So if Nigeria cannot invest in its people to prepare them for what is coming ahead, go everywhere. You know how much America is investing in AI? You know how many investors coming in America to build AI infrastructure? What is going on in Nigeria? Nothing. Nothing. So if our children cannot read, write, comprehend between now and age 10, then they will have problem when they move to secondary school, move into the university. That's why in the university, many people can't understand. Even common tweet, you just tweet something now, they can't read it with comprehension. They start attacking the tweet without understanding the information the tweet is passing. Go and check. People see headline, they start talking. They have not read the content. They start talking. So we have a very big problem. And I'm using this medium to request Mr. President to review. In fact, if they need to send supplementary budget for education and health, let them do it. They are the very core basic indices for development. They are called very basic indices for HDI, Human Development Index. And if we don't get these two areas right, we will have serious problem in the near future. So it's so sad. How much is state government budgeting for education? How much? Look at Kano that was cited in that video as an example. Go and check other states. That's why I encourage people, don't sit down and follow the wind, that P2B this, P2B that. Go and check what he did. They are telling you that even other countries are coming to understudy what he did at that time. And it's telling you that he only mainstream his agenda to MDGs at that time and followed it religiously. He cut off all the middlemen in the education. Every capital expenditure budget for education goes straight to the school. It bypass the ministry, because ministry are the trapping point. The moment that moves there, the money that moves to the ministry are trapped, shared up front from there. It doesn't get to the school. That is the problem we have. So each time you hear president has given this billion for this, that billion, 10% will not get to that project. Write it down that I'm telling you. Go and evaluate all the expenditures of government, find out where the money ended up, people's pockets. That is the issue. So education is suffering. Look at our curriculum, outdated curriculum that doesn't fit into the global system. We are not an isolated country. We are part of a global community. So whatever we are doing should fit into what is happening globally. Now, do you know the ratio? If you look at developed countries now, ratio of pupil to teacher-pupil ratio is 1 to 15, 1 teacher to 15 pupils. Then from semi-developed, let me use the word semi-developed country, right? You will see 1 to 40 teachers. But in Nigeria, it's 1 to 300. When I was a copper, I served in Kaduna State in one of the remote communities. I was marking 250 something script. My classroom, 250 something. Only me is teaching 200. My class will be filled. People will sit on the floor. People will stand. 250. So imagine a teacher marking 250 and you have how many classes to teach? And at the end of the day, when you see their script during an exam, most of them didn't write anything. Some of them that write, they didn't even know what they are writing. How would they learn in that kind of environment? That is the point. How? And most of them don't understand English. They only understand their local dialect. So it's a problem. It's a very big problem. And government is not seeing that. They are busy campaigning for 2027. They are busy looking on how to deregister parties. They are busy formulating electoral law that suits them. They are busy creating state police. They are fighting tooth and nail to establish before election so that they will play a role for them. That is just what you are seeing happening. Nobody cares. Their children, some of them, their children have finished education, and even them, they read abroad. In UK, Wike was in UK. His son graduated, right? He was there in UK. A whole lot of them. How many of them have their kids in Nigerian schools? That's what will tell you how bad the situation is. That's the point. So we need to do something, and urgently so. If we don't, we won't have the next population that can even drive the country. To the point that we will now start going and be waking Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe and co. to come and help us, to come and start leading again. Or foreigners will now come and be leading the country. Oh yes, you need some level of acuity, level of intelligence, and education helps to express yourself, to understand situations, to read in between the lines. There are a lot of things education does for you. That is why it's a bedrock. That's why it's a core indices of development. So government should move away from this every day they are shouting, we have foreign. I have not seen other countries who are shouting that they have foreign reserve at this amount. I've not seen that. It's only Nigeria. I keep hearing we have foreign reserve 50 billion. And so what? That is what M&E will ask you. And so what? Oh, we have GDP growth of this. How does that GDP growth translate to human capital development? How does it translate to changing the lives of the people? How does it affect poverty, reduce poverty? Look at the poverty learning we are talking about. How does that GDP growth help our children to read and understand? How many teachers do we have? In some schools, one teacher is teaching how many classes? One person. He gets exhausted. He will write different notes. And go to our schools now. NCE, right? Now, is it National Council of Education or whatever they call them? That trained teachers those days. Where are they now? Gone. What do they use? Coppers. Is a copper trained teacher? No, he's not. He's not a trained teacher. Teachers are trained how to write lesson notes. It was when I was teaching, I knew how to start writing lesson notes and all of that. You have to write your lesson note. You have to prepare based on curriculum, or your note to fit into the curriculum and all of that. An NYSC person didn't go through all those training, so he won't understand it. He won't follow through that process. That is why a teacher is a teacher. A nurse is a nurse. A midwife is a midwife. A medical doctor is a medical doctor. Because he went through that training to get there. So these are the issues. How conducive is our classroom? Come abroad and see classrooms. Come abroad, see classroom. Each child has a desk. There's one content creator. Is he from Kano? What is his name again? I've forgotten his name. He innovated one school to modern distance. Kudos to him. I've forgotten his name, but he know himself. Kudos to you. Go to Abia. I was seeing some of their new school initiative they are rolling out. I think Enugu, before they had problem with the contractor that time, that they have issues, that went to EFCC and all. Smart school initiative. P2B during his time was giving out computers to school, build ICT center, put internet for them and all. And they were competing globally. The students from Anambra winning contests abroad. Governor Chibika Amechi also did quite a lot in Rivers then when he was governor. I know people that invested in education. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso also did that. That's why we happy to tell you his alignment with Kwankwaso is that they have almost the same kind of goal in tackling education and health. Go and check their government when they were governors. They flowed almost on the same trajectory. But today, who you are following, what is his track record in education? What is his track record in health? What did they do? No, only urbanization. But people don't understand. Your child now is out of school. Some people now can't even afford school fees, so their child is at home. Some people, their child are in school, they see hire private teacher. Why? Because they don't believe that what the child got from the school will be enough. They now need private teacher. Spend extra money. That is why when we are shouting, citizens should join the fight to be able to help government to redirect their step and invest money in the critical places. Their children are abroad. That's why your child is going through a battered education system. That when they leave school, they can't even express themselves. They can't even pass interview to get a job. They can't even compete globally because the standard is too low. Look at funding to education, very poor. Very, very poor. They have not even reached half of the global benchmark. And since after Jonathan handed over, Buhari, tried the first year, 2015, we did zero-based budgeting. After that year, all the funding to education and health were going down, and worse till now. And nobody is talking about it. We are talking about akara and kuli. So that is the market they are creating for our children who are poverty learning to go and join. At the end of the day, they just give them 50,000 to join akara and kuli. When other people are, their children are going to mass, their children are launching rockets, our own is selling kuli and akara. This is the issue we are having. Our political class are so blindfolded that they don't understand the indices of the development. They will be quick to cite America, cite China, but they can't do what they are doing to get to where they are. That is the problem. So it's a crisis. It's a national crisis that the government need to sit down and take a decisive step or action on what need to be done. And I'll tell you what need to be done in a short while. Number one, they need to invest in building quality classrooms. Those ones that are already existing, that are dilapidated, need to be fixed ASAP. When I say fixed, it's not about building it, put zinc and paint it with ceiling. No, equip it properly with fan, AC, make sure it's conducive for them during hot weather as well. Chairs should be there with electronic board. Children need to learn. Then school materials. That program I monitored them, there were school material. They provide school uniform for the children free. They provide books for them free. They build toilet for them and build potable water for them. All those schools have water and toilet. Sanitation is part of education. Don't you know? Sanitation is part of education. Wash program, if you remember. So these are the things government need to focus on doing, and for them to do it, they must increase budget to education. They must start rolling up, budget to education and health, increasing it, at least with more percentages. All these things they are pushing on this road, that road. Please invest in education first. We need the education sector to stabilize. We need it to stabilize. That's why every road we are building is China company. We are building rail, it's Chinese company. And we have engineers, people that went to engineering, that read engineering in the university. Why can't they build it? We have Ajokuta State, where we are importing the state they are using to build the rail. Isn't it a shame? It's a shame. So government should wake up. Then, other things they need to do, massive recruitment of teachers. They go and reinvigorate NCE, that school that train teachers. Invigorate that school. Give scholarship in that regards. That's where NELFON comes in, not even loan, scholarship, so that we motivate people to go and do teaching, improve their salary, improve their welfare. We get to start building schools, houses for judges, target teachers, build houses for them. Yes, low-cost housing, target them, build low-cost housing, improve security. Our children can be in school and they are afraid of who will kidnap them next. These are things government should do. They call it Safe School Initiative. How far with it? Where is the safe school? Is it not in school they kidnap people in Oyo State? And the other state, there's one is in Borno again that we are yet to hear whether they are out or not. There's one that just happened in Kogi, that they are just recovering them which day. So where is the Safe School Initiative? It's already told you that it's a failure. Any money that went to that Safe School Initiative has already gone to people's pocket. It didn't get to the project. There are vampires that trap funding that goes to any project. Vampires. In every sector, they are there. Their intention is not to do the work. Their intention is to trap the money, collect it, and send 1%. That's it. So what is going on in schools already told you that the Safe School Initiative is not working. What do? Evaluate. Find out why it's not working. It's only evaluation that will tell you that. And then, when the lessons learned from the evaluation report, you use it to improve the system and then relaunch it or close it down. The report will recommend to you whether to close it or to do some changes and it can work better. Then after some years ago, you do another evaluation. That's how things work. So every serious government, as soon as they are budgeting money for something, they are setting up M&E, monitoring and evaluation on it to track the progress. We have national monitoring and evaluation in the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. How far are they now? Nobody hears their voice anymore. Do they get funded? How are they coping? Are they not supposed to have removed them from there and create them as a full-fledged agency so that they will focus and be independent to do their work? Where are we today? Nothing. The first mistake of Buhari is to convert Budget and National Planning Commission to Ministry of Budget and National Planning. That's the first mistake of Buhari. The moment they did that, they useless the ministry. Because that's a specialized commission. You don't just enter there. It's scaled. There's kind of scale that is required to be in the National Planning Commission because of the unique job they do. They are the one that chart the course for development in the country, that set the roadmap. But they just made them ministry. Politicians began to flood it with all kinds of people. And that was the end. So it is what it is, guys. But the fact remains that Nigeria is in critical condition right now when it comes to education, when it comes to health. You had them. The other time they had releases from Ministry of Health, it was 36 million. A whole Ministry of Health that has over how many, hundreds of teaching hospital under them, that has how many national hospital under them, federal government hospital, federal government college hospital, and what have you under them. They released for them 36 million. That shows you the priority of government. But they are pushing money in coastal highway that president's friend is working on. They are pushing money there. Any project that suits them, that's why they push money. But these core developmental indices, they don't care about them. And people are not talking. That's quite unfortunate. Anyways, I don't know what else to say. But I've mentioned some certain things that they need to do, right? About teacher training, recruitment of teacher training, grant scholarship for people to go to NCE, the College of Education that prepares teachers. That's another, then build classroom, revamp the dead ones, equip them, put modern, tools there, create more schools to reduce teacher-pupil ratio, right? Then the curriculum need to change. This Education Research Development Council also in Abuja, they need to revamp the curriculum to align with global trend. That is it. They need to invest in technology, buying computers, setting up ICT centers in this primary and secondary school, because at child age is when they start learning coding and all those things that can, brighten them going forward. Then they also need to improve the welfare of teachers, pay them properly, build local housing for them, treat teachers very well. When you treat them very well, they devote their energy, their blood, their life to train these children. That is the point. Because without teachers, most of us now speaking like this, we can't. It's teachers that helped us when we were growing. And now the standard of education now collapsed compared to when we went to primary, secondary school in the 80s. That's it. So it's unfortunate where we are now. So government should be intentional, budget properly for education, and release those funds. Budget is one, releases is another. They may budget 3.something trillion like they did now, but at the end they may release only 1 trillion. But it will be everywhere. Oh, they budgeted 3. It is the release that is the main issue. How much was released at the end of the day? Because that's what the ministry is going to utilize to do whatever they want to do. So we need to be intentional about where we are going and why we need to drive education and health, because they are core indices of development. Government should stop their noise of foreign reserve, or noise of GDP has grown, Naira has stabilized. All those things are crap when it comes to development. What we want to see is that the number of out-of-school children has dropped, that the number of enrollment has increased, that the quality of education has improved, that teachers are now trained and they are delivering results. Then when you come to, the teachers' welfare, that they are now well paid, not just 70,000 or whatever minimum wage and all of that. Then you come to health, the same thing, that now no people can now, treat cancer, treat whatever in Nigeria. It's so hospital, they have the, state-of-the-art facility, that they have quality, primary health care facilities across all the wards and local government in Nigeria, and that they have trained, skilled personnel who can deliver babies and all of that. So that pressure will come down from the tertiary institutions, where you have the teaching hospital and the general hospital, so that primary health care can start taking minor cases like treating malaria, injection, delivering babies. So that other teaching hospital is meant for students to learn to be a doctor and all of that. But today, they take bulk of Nigerian medical cases now, over-pressurized. Same thing with general hospital. It's supposed to, after primary health care center, they can't handle it, they refer you to general hospital. But now, general hospital is like the first line of defense, because there's no more primary health care center. Most of them are dead. It was during Jonathan 2014, we did renovation of over 1,200 primary health care center at that time. Jonathan invested in it through Shopee. Yes, I saw it live. So, this thing since then till now, what is going on? Anyway, guys, it's unfortunate where we are, but we keep talking and drawing government attention to this problem. Thank God that it is from the Honorable Minister of Education who was saying all these things, releasing this data. It's not people that don't like Tinubu. No, it's coming from his government. So government should wake up. We are in crisis. 75% of our children within the age of 10 cannot read, cannot, comprehend. That's a problem. Is that how they will enter the junior secondary and then senior secondary and then university? How do you want them to cope? So guys, I don't know what you have in mind concerning this crisis. Please put it at the comment section. My comment section is open for you. And before I leave the stage, if you are new to my channel, please kindly like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And also put on your notification bell so that when my next new video drop, you'll be among those that will be notified. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I'll see you in my next video. Do have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. I'm signing out. See you.